Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the virtual program today, Creating and Maintaining Your Nonprofit's Culture with Meagan Dunn. I am Brittany Spillman, and I serve as the Cary Center Director of Community and Collegiate Programs. Before we begin, I would like to take a moment to thank this year's sponsors. This virtual program's presenting sponsor is the Walker Area Community Foundation. The Walker Area Community Foundation is a nonprofit grant-making organization building the permanent capital needed to daily facilitate community conversations, inspire action, and empower partners. This year's community and collegiate program sponsors have pledged to support our efforts in providing meaningful programming for the nonprofit sector. Thank you to Auburn University Outreach, the East Alabama Community Foundation, the River Region United Way, Auburn University Outreach Office of Public Service, Social U, the Drummond Thorne Stooks Fund for Excellence, and a community service grant made possible by State Senator Randy Price and State Representative Joe Lovern. Meagan Dunn is a dynamic nonprofit leader and a champion for young people experiencing homelessness. She joined Covenant House Michigan in July of 22 and currently serves as the organization's first Black woman Chief Executive Officer. As CEO, Meagan provides leadership to a dedicated team in two locations, Detroit and Grand Rapids. Since opening its doors in 1997, Covenant House Michigan has served and advocated for more than 80,000 young adults experiencing homelessness, human trafficking, and exploitation by providing street outreach, short-term shelter, transitional living, and more. With the help of Meagan's vision and strategic direction, the team delivers high-quality programs and services to help young people achieve housing stability, heal from trauma, and hone their interests and skills to forge new pathways to independence. Previously, Meagan was Vice President of Programs with the YWCA Kalamazoo, where she managed a $10 million budget and more than 100 team members. Among other duties, she supervised a 62-bed shelter for victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, and human trafficking, and one of the first 24/7 child care centers in Southwest Michigan. Meagan earned a Bachelor of Arts degree in English Language and Literature from the University of Michigan and an MBA from Michigan State University. She is a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated and Inforum. Meagan also serves as the board of directors for both the Belle Isle Conservancy and the Michigan Black Business Alliance as a trustee with the Hudson Weber Foundation and an advisory board member for the James H. Cole Legacy Foundation. Meagan was recognized by the Detroit City Council through a Spirit of Detroit Award in 2023. In 2024, she was named one of Crain's Detroit Businesses 2024 Notable Black Business Leaders and Michigan Chronicles 2024 Standout Black Nonprofit Leaders in Southeastern Michigan. Please join me in welcoming Meagan Dunn as she shares about creating and maintaining your nonprofit's culture.
Hi, Dr. Spillman. Thank you so much for that introduction, and thank you all for listening to that. I appreciate it. I'm a humble human servant of people. I think that should be the bio because that has always been my mission, and I've been really honored to spend my career working in the public and nonprofit sectors. So thank you for inviting me to be here and our organization, Covenant House Michigan, and I'm so grateful to speak with everyone today. And with that, I will share my screen so we can get started and make the best use of our time. And while I'm doing that, I'd like to share that I'm very sad that the University of Auburn, they beat my beloved Wolverines and Spartans in the NCAA collegiate games, and unfortunately didn't make it all the way through. I was pulling for Auburn, after my teams fell out. So maybe next year. They better go do some culture building. All right, so with that being said, I'll get started. I just want to do a volume check and make sure everyone's okay and can hear, or well, at least you can. Okay, great, thank you. I'm going to minimize that. Okay, so thank you everyone for attending today. I'm honored really to spend just a little bit of time talking about really one of my favorite topics as a nonprofit leader, which is creating and maintaining our nonprofit's culture. And again, thank you to Dr. Spillman for reaching out and really facilitating this this talk today. If you choose the nonprofit sector, which I'm assuming all of you all are doing, then there's a good chance that you have the desire to inspire and change the world, and we need you to do that. Whether you care about the environment or arts or human services, social justice, food insecurity, you see a space where your passions align with the need. So I want to share, even before we get started, that I see you and I thank you for doing your part to make this world a better place. The world needs nonprofits. We stand in the gap. We stand in to help our communities most vulnerable, helping them in their most vulnerable state. Most nonprofits care for people at the lowest point of their lives when they're in much need of the transformation that many of us can help deliver. As leaders of nonprofits, we advocate for public policy. We advocate for our people. We lift up the stories that we hear and their voices for those especially that don't feel that they can advocate for themselves. And most importantly, we want to leave this world in a better place that we found it. And in my travels and my talks with different leaders, whether they're at universities or throughout the rest of other industries, we have some amazing people that are leading very important and critical missions right here. And I'm just grateful to be just one member of the hundreds of people that are leading this work around our country. I'll go to the next slide. I want to talk a little bit also about Covenant House, Michigan. Covenant House, Michigan is a part of a federated organization, Covenant House International, where we have 33 sites around the United States, Canada, and Latin America. But right here in Michigan, our goal is to eliminate and end homelessness for young people as we know it today. Our missions and nonprofits should always feel just a little bit uncomfortable. So when I say it, the hair kind of stands up on my arm still, and that, we are really putting programs in place to ensure that every single young person between the ages of 18 and 24 that needs a safe place to sleep, sanctuary from wherever traumas that they've experienced, have a place right here at Covenant House, Michigan. We support each resident relentlessly. We love them unconditionally, and we respect them absolutely. And our goal here is to create lasting change. Again, we believe that no youth should ever be without a home, period. And so our goal here at Covenant House, the way we steward our resources of the community, the way we take care of our residents, and the way we are able to innovate this work is just how we do that. But as much as we care about our young people and our residents, the hundreds of young people that reside within Covenant House every single day, we have to make sure that we take care of our team members, our people, the people that take care of the people. And so that is how we are going to center today's discussion. So our focus for today, I really want all of you to walk away with an understanding of your role as a culture carrier. So recognizing how leaders shape nonprofit culture. We'll talk a little bit about the framework, discovering the building blocks for a winning culture. And then hopefully today we can start your journey in building an environment that reflects your mission and your values. And I'd like to share today that while none of this is rocket science, all of it is critically important to create the culture that you want for your organization. Excuse me, I just got over a cold, so I've got just a little bit going on here. And before we even do that, I'd also like to talk about how do we define organizational culture? I think it's important for us to have that as well. Now that we've acknowledged the importance of our mission-driven work and the impact on this world, let's dive into how we get there. How can we achieve those critical missions? How do we measure impact? And most importantly, how do we create a culture where joy resonates throughout? A culture that feels safe and where staff feel seen, heard, and cared for. Let's recall, people drive the mission. So our team members here at Covenant House drive the mission of our work. They take care of our residents and our young people. The leader and the leadership drives the culture, and the culture must be felt throughout the entire organization. So getting back to what is organizational culture? And I'm going to read from an article that I actually participated in some time ago with some of our partners from Plant Moran. Culture, for some organizations, culture is a buzzword or a box to check at leadership meetings. But we all know that culture is so much more than that. It's the heartbeat that propels an organization and its mission forward. It's the thread that binds its people together and the fuel for the collective effort that results in meaningful work. Culture guides actions, decisions, and relationships. And with that comes the role of the executive leader and executive leadership. There are three key roles to, as a CEO, as how I see my work. One of them is as the chief fundraiser. So we all have development teams, any nonprofit should. We have working professionals that are experts in their field. They're passionate about the work. But honestly, one of my biggest roles and the biggest roles of executive leadership is the chief fundraiser. So securing the resources to sustain and grow the organization. Additionally, we are the chief of mission and strategy. So guiding the organization towards its vision and our strategic goals. Incredibly important. And I think what really resonates through all this is the role of the culture carrier. So we create the environment where team members thrive through open communication and collaboration. Of course, we want to do it all, but what's important about the culture carrier is that this person relentlessly pursues a positive environment where team members can thrive, where communication, again, is open and transparent, where we encourage curiosity and that seek to understand mentality, where cross-departmental collaboration is encouraged and respect is given. I'll talk about all of these parts of being the culture carrier throughout the presentation, but I wanted to make sure I put it out here on the front end. And then, of course, um, where not only respect is given, but where it's a fun work environment. So we're working hard, but we're also in having fun. And so that's also an important piece to include. Some may refer to this as change management or organizational behavior. But again, for the purposes of this, we're really focusing on organizational culture and how to make it a joyful environment. So there are 4 building blocks of a winning culture, and those include core values. So core values should be created in collaboration with the leadership or management team with input from the rest of your organization. You create core values that align with your mission and purposes of your organization. Your core values define your why. That's so critically important. Before you can do anything at an organization, you have to understand not only the mission, that's the forward-facing part, that's working with, your clients or your residents or the people that you're working with. But the internal team members really have to define our why. These values should be documented and presented to the entire organization so that they're easily understood. And again, they don't have to be complicated. They can be very, very simple, but input from all should be included. So at Covenant House, we have 5 core values and principles. The first is fairness, where life is not measured in wins or losses. It's measured by fairness in the outcome. Honesty. We seek truth without compromise, and we always seek to understand. Teamwork, that's a big one. We are stronger together than working alone. We work hard, but we have fun. So we build a culture for people to find joy in fulfilling our mission and purpose. And I really want to emphasize on that because given our work in nonprofits, some days can feel very heavy. Just given the work that we're doing, maybe the outcome isn't reached in a way that we had hoped. So ensuring that we have a culture where we have teamwork and and an environment where there's joy. Lastly is respect. We give it whether we agree or disagree with the other person's opinion because it is their perspective. Their perspective is always valid. So those are the core values that we agreed to some time ago as a leadership team. It's important really to continue to assess those to make sure that they align with the organizations and the current culture of the organization and the team. Next, we have consistency. Relentlessly pursue your values despite distractions and emergencies. The biggest distraction and emergency, I think, recently probably was the COVID-19 pandemic, where many of us in nonprofits had to pivot to go into emergency operation mode. And although it was difficult during that time for many of us, creating that organizational culture where everyone felt safe is still critically important. So to relentlessly pursue your core values can be at times challenging. At Covenant House, and again, as for many nonprofits, an internal emergency can happen anytime. An emergency or rogue team members, which happens, can easily distract or derail the organization's progress. So the leader and the leadership team and management must always reaffirm the organization's mission and the core values, even in an emergency. Open communication is also critical. So transparency is something that team members really appreciate. Team members want to hear from its leader and its leadership team. And I even need to be reminded of that from time to time. Also understanding what's the best method of communication. So for some team members, especially those that work on the front line, they may not check their email on a regular basis. So what I try and do is pop in, say hello, give them eye-to-eye contact, and say thank you. And also, most importantly, listen. Earlier this year, as many nonprofit organizations heard, there was potentially going to be a federal pause on grants that many of us were receiving. That sent shock and a little bit of chaos throughout our organization. So as the leader of the organization, I had to ensure that my messages were firm, that they were consistent, and that the organization felt that despite any decisions, that our people were safe and our organization would continue its mission. Sometimes it did feel like, am I over communicating? But the feedback that I heard from our team is that they appreciated the messages and the updates. So consistent and open communication is a huge part of building that organizational culture. And then, of course, there's adaptability. Culture isn't static, it's evolving and changing and adapts over time. And so it requires constant attention and action for continued success. So even though you may have your core values, you may have your communication, it's always important to continue to assess. Organizations with strong positive culture have an innate ability to live through continuous change. Instead of waiting and reacting to challenges, we often proactively identify and address them by listening and answering the question, what can we do about it? That's an important piece there. With that said, we can put culture into practice. And in the next few slides, I will go into that. So first we talk about trust, which requires the entire team. Building trust is the fundamental block of building culture. We can't do anything without it. Trust must exist throughout the entire organization. So it can't just be at the leadership level or even the management level. Trust has to be felt throughout the entire organization, particularly on the front line. I have to put extra emphasis there. Pardon me. So the foundation, so organizational trust is the foundation. Team trust, again, getting into management and creating the psychological safety within departments, and individual trust. So building those one-on-one relationships with integrity. Again, trust has to be created throughout the organization. It starts at the top and it has to be felt through. Happy people equals better outcomes. I love this picture because it's actually one that I took from Covenant House's Facebook page. And so that is one of our managers here at Covenant House, and he had just won something. And as you can see, his colleague back there had some questions about that. But what I love about this picture is that it really, it shows what it means to have a happy environment. So what we do at Covenant House, we celebrate life events. So acknowledging birthdays, work anniversaries, and personal milestones. Every month I send a birthday card to an employee that is celebrating a birthday. Our HR team acknowledges milestones, so once you've served 1 year, you get a certificate, and after some time, you begin to receive other gifts and acknowledgments. Again, none of this is really rocket science, but it's paying attention to the small things that are very important. We care about people beyond work. we spend more time together in the office and at work than sometimes we do with our families and with organizations that we care about. So ensuring that, people feel valued and heard is very important. And then visiting the front line. Covenant House, Michigan, and I'm sure for many of your organizations, they're 24/7. So the third shift should feel as much value as the first shift or even the second. So it's important just to drop by when you can. This past weekend on Saturday, I came in to get a little bit of work done, but before I came into my office, I walked across the campus just to say hello to our staff, to check in with them. How are they feeling? Are there things that we can help them with? Really listening and ensuring that, again, they feel seen and heard. People don't forget, what you say to them, and they certainly don't forget how you make them feel. And I think that's one of the more critical pieces to building a positive and happy organizational culture. Inspiring curiosity. What's important here for me is to always listen and actively listening, not listening to respond, but listening actively. People really, they appreciate that. It's important to meet folks again where they are. What is the best mode of communication? Email may be the best mode of communication for certain members of an organization, but again, it could be newsletters or stop bys or team huddles at the start of a shift where management is present to listen and be available to ask questions. At Covenant House, we just started doing town hall meetings where every other month I meet with all of our team members or those that can participate in a town hall format where I share updates and communication, priorities, upcoming events or initiatives that we'll be working on. But most importantly, I like to use that time for our team members to ask questions of me and the rest of the management team. It's something that we just started, and it's proven to be a very helpful communication tool. I've heard really great feedback from team members that, wow, this is a great opportunity for me to ask questions. Um, the environment feels safe, which is incredibly important because if it's not a safe environment, then that will impact the integrity of the meeting, and also it could impact the types of questions that come in. So ensuring that it is that the environment feels good, that it feels safe is important. And again, meeting people where they are. But on the flip side of this, when you listen and ideas come up or questions are asked, it's important to try and make those incremental changes. So people just don't feel like we're having the meeting and nothing happens. Everything may not happen, but certainly there are areas and incremental changes that can be made. Those are the most important. It's the small things. People are watching and they're listening. And this is something that, again, we've been doing every other month. Team members seem to enjoy it. So that's something that we're adding to our toolkit. I mentioned earlier, fostering a seek to understand mentality throughout the organization so that it's not about why does this person want to, why is development, for example, interested in finance? It's not that. It's more that how can development and finance work together to better the mission of the organization? So it's really seeking to understand and providing that feedback, closing the loop by showing people that they're seen and heard. That speaks to those incremental changes that are very important so that, again, people understand that if they voice their concern or questions, that leadership and management can hear them. I think one of the most important things that I'd love to focus on is fostering that collaboration. Collaboration is important, not just at the leadership level, but throughout the entire organization. So cross-departmental teams, creating opportunities for staff from different areas to work together. If you're all in the nonprofit sector, you understand the importance of programs. Programs drives our clients or our residents or the people that you serve, and they drive the outcome. So they're really at the center of all of the work that we do together. But I also see our work really as a three-legged stool, where programs, finance, and development are working hip to hip very closely together to ensure that we are working in tandem so that we are serving our organization and our mission and our people as best as we possibly can. We cannot do that work in silos. So here at Covenant House, I am a big promoter of cross-departmental teams and ensuring that those teams work together, again, so they're listening, they're seeking to understand, they respect each other's opinion, and ultimately we're here to usher forward the mission of the organization. So those three departments together, along with operations is sort of at the foundation of everything that we do, excuse me, helps to move the work forward. So as a leader, I've had to direct those teams to create their team meetings together, ensure that they're continually collaborating, communicating, and working together. And so not just as leaders, but that has to happen throughout all of their departments. So if it's just happening at the leadership level, but not at the department level, then we're really not getting the work done in the way we should. We're not creating the organizational culture throughout the entire organization. So I've, shared with my leadership team that each department should also feel that they have the opportunity to do that cross collaboration work together. It can be done through shared projects, initiatives. We love to try out piloting things together. So it's important, again, for the leaders to do that, but also for the people in the departments to do that as well. We're starting to see some really great outcomes from that. We talked a little bit already about open forums. So hosting regular meetings where ideas can flow across traditional boundaries. And so even our leadership team that we had this week, I asked the question to the team, what will make this meeting the most efficient and effective use of our time? So we're changing the agenda for one meeting. It'll be different from the other. One will be more of a round robin style where it will be more like an open forum. And then the other will be focused on key strategic objectives. So it's important to, again, listen to feedback, even as the CEO of the organization, to understand what's the best use of our time so that we can continue to do our work and increase our impact. Recognizing teamwork is also critically important. So celebrating collaborative successes to reinforce their importance. At one of our last town hall meetings, I gave an example of how this cross collaboration between programs and development led to an unsolicited financial gift to our organization. Because I understood that organization and saw the gift come in, and so did one department, I wanted the entire organization to understand, hey, as a result of these two departments working together to promote the work that we're doing in the community, a funder reached out to us and gave an unsolicited gift. It was celebrated throughout the organization. I, as a leader, ensured that the people that were a part of that collaboration were acknowledged publicly. Doing those sorts of celebrations and acknowledgments are critically important, and it helps foster that collaboration and inevitably helps with the reinstates the organizational culture. Also, another fun part is working hard and having fun. Yes, even in mission-driven nonprofits. We are the people, I said this earlier, that take care of people. So we have to ensure that there are opportunities for team building, agenda-free gatherings, and time for all of us to celebrate our wins. So team building can look a lot of different ways depending on your organization size, your budget, but structured activities that strengthen relationships while developing skills. I always, in my mind, when I hear this, think of like the trust fall. We haven't done that. But there are many opportunities and things that you can do. It's important to get up out of the work, take yourselves outside of your campuses or your offices to nurture that time together. So whether it's a staff retreat, a leadership retreat, or a management retreat, or all three, it's important to have those team building activities. It helps with building the relationships. And again, all of this is helpful for building trust. Agenda-free gatherings are also important and something that we do here at Covenant House. We at least once a year celebrate our people. So we use that time for, and our team members actually help create what this looks like. So it's based on their feedback. So it's a time for us to sit, we talk, we celebrate. There's music, there's food. It's right here on our campus. And it just gives our staff time to connect. And the feedback that I received was that they really appreciated not having a big, huge agenda, but just having the opportunity to say, hey, this is how my day's gone. How are you? And really being able to support one another. And then celebrating wins, taking time to acknowledge achievements, both big and small. What we've also recently instituted here at Covenant House is we created a Beacon of Hope Award. And so that is a monthly award that's given to staff members. The person that wins that award were nominated by their peers. So I don't pick the person, the leadership team didn't, but certainly they're nominated by their peers and acknowledged. We're not acknowledging with a big, huge party, but acknowledging with a written acknowledgement, a gift card for that person, and also with a certificate. And again, it's the small things that help people feel appreciated, it helps them feel seen, and it helps them feel heard. Research has also indicated that, and I'll make sure this is shared throughout at the end of this presentation, that the research is clear. Culture drives impact. So, there are articles through the Harvard Business Review, through Deloitte, and through Gallup that shows that 20% higher profitability, 17% higher productivity is for many organizations is all due to having a strong and positive organizational culture. Excuse me. And so measuring cultural success is also important. So, and you measure it based on what makes sense for the organization. And so that ensures that you're, again, continually assessing, is what we're doing working? Do our staff members and team members feel the culture throughout the organization? Are they satisfied? What's our staff retention? Are we focusing on the impact of our mission? Do we see examples of team collaboration? And are we getting that important community feedback? And community can include stakeholders, including your internal team members, and it can include donors, it can include your board, and it can include the clients that you serve. So continuing to assess the culture in this way is critically important. So you can always ensure that you're doing this in real time. I also like to reinstate that the culture is created by the leadership. It's not the job solely of HR. It's not the job solely of operations or another area, but truly it takes buy-in from everyone. And so that is critically important. And the culture journey continues. Nurturing an organizational culture is a marathon. And I like to throw that in there. I've only run one marathon. So I understand what that feels like, and it's not a sprint. I've been the CEO at Covenant House, Michigan for about 3 years. It'll be 3 years in July. And I've continued to work on the culture of this organization since I started, and will continue to always do so because that continuous assessment is important. Creating culture doesn't happen overnight, and it requires the relentless pursuit of our values. And that goes back to one of the first points I made earlier today on the importance of creating your core values with input from your team members. Excuse me, nurturing organizational, I'm sorry, I already said that it is not a marathon, it is a marathon, it is not a sprint. Thank you all for being a part of a world that's filled with more good than bad. I know with everything that's happening, there's a little bit of chaos everywhere, both internally and internationally, but there's so much good in this organization. Our future of our world is in good hands, and it's with people that care. And so I'm grateful to work alongside all of you in our missions throughout our organizations to ensure that we're leaving our world in a better place than when we found it. So I think I'll stop here and I am happy to answer any questions.
Feel free to unmute yourself and ask Meagan any questions that you may have. If you choose to type them in the chat box, I will moderate. While y'all are thinking of questions, Meagan, I want to thank you for a wonderful program today. Everyone, you will be getting an email from me with a link to today's presentation and recording, a short 3-question survey, and an opportunity to sign up to be a Carey Center nonprofit affiliate. The Carey Center Nonprofit Affiliate Program currently serves over 400 nonprofits in Alabama and beyond and offers educational programming, professional development, and networking opportunities to nonprofit professionals. Carey Center Nonprofit Affiliates are the first to learn about upcoming programming, and membership is free. We are excited to announce we are now offering the Carey Center Nonprofit Professional Certificate. This is an online, non-degreed certificate and offered through a partnership with the Auburn University Office of Professional and Continuing Education and Merit Nonprofit Professional Development and provides a tailored curriculum for nonprofit professionals. Merit is an anytime, anywhere micro-learning platform that builds 6 core nonprofit proficiency areas, including leading, learning, resource generating, planning, managing, and overseeing through 28 different learning paths. Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope to see you at one of our monthly virtual programs or in person for our nonprofit trainings currently traveling the state. Does anybody have any questions for Meagan? Carolyn.
Brittany,
Yes, go ahead, Pauletta.
I didn't have a question. I just had a comment. I just appreciate this webinar. I was taking notes as she was talking, and I love what she said about, building trust and the importance of that with the culture. And it's not just a leadership thing. I love the incentives. I love the birthday cards, the milestone gifts, and even the monthly Beacon of Hope initiatives. We have a smaller staff, so as you were talking about that, I just kind of wondered what that would look like maybe for a smaller staff. And maybe that's just like a quarterly opportunity, or maybe it's just, a completely different recognition opportunity instead of, it being peer driven. But anyhow, I say all that to say I think that you made some really good points. And also just to comment on your work hard and have fun. That's something that our organization has began to understand, that creating that culture of working hard and having fun strengthens our organization. We've decided to do some quarterly activities with as a staff, and one of the first ones that we're going to do is attend a Birmingham Barons baseball game. So I'm really excited about that. But I think that you made some really good points and some things that all of us should consider.
Pauletta, thank you. And it seems like you're already on your way. So doing all of those things, and the nonprofit doesn't, this has to happen at a nonprofit of all sizes. So whether it's small or, Covenant House is, I'd say, a medium-sized nonprofit or a large one, it's important to create that culture. So what you're doing are all the right things, creating opportunities for people to connect, particularly after COVID, like where,
Mhm.
a lot of folks went to work virtually. Many of us in nonprofits, maybe did for a bit, but, we've been, working in person for years at this point. But being able to connect and making sure that people feel seen and heard, I kind of said that a few times. Um, People appreciate that and they want to feel that connection, particularly from the leadership. So it sounds like you're doing all the right things. And whether you do these acknowledgments monthly or quarterly or whatever cadence seems important, it's just important to do it. And the follow through, I think, is even more important. So when you go out and you listen and you're listening to questions and feedback, um, that acknowledgement is important, but then people want to see what's going to happen next, right?
Mhm.
So I think that those are the things that are important, that I've really tried to live with integrity in that way.
Thank you, Megan.
Thank you.
Megan, Carolyn said, when did you realize that building a winning culture in a nonprofit was so important?
I think, and thank you for that question, Carolyn. I think I'll take it way back to when I worked in politics for some years. So glad I got out of that. But when I spent the start of my career working, in politics here in Detroit, and there was a significant crisis that came up, and the mayor eventually had to step down. Um, but the way that I saw the organization sort of fall apart when the leader left, of course, it was through chaos. I saw the importance of building a culture because the mission of the organization is about its people. It's not about the leader. So if I have to exit Covenant House one day, or the way I like to say it is, if I hit the lottery and left Covenant House with a big, huge check and I walked away to go live my life, Covenant House should continue to work and operate as if I've never left. And so that's the culture of the organization will support that. And so, Carolyn, that's I think when I learned the importance of creating a positive organizational culture. Succession planning is critically important, which we didn't talk about as much today. And then the one thing I didn't touch on, which is also important, is your board. So I talked a lot about management and people, but from a governance perspective, the board's role in supporting the culture of the organization is also very important. So the board must be aligned with the executive leadership to ensure that they also support the organizational culture. The board itself has to have its own culture as well. So it as the executive, we have to play in both. We have to make sure that we support the culture in both spaces, because if the culture of the board is not one that is, supportive of the vision and mission of the organization, then, everything could fall apart at that point too.
Megan, you bring up a good point about board culture. Do you have any tips on how to cultivate and maintain a board
Mhm.
culture? Is that different than a nonprofit culture? I'm just curious. What would you say?
That's a great question. In that we at Covenant House we have a board of about 15 board members, and we have two sites that are in two very different parts of Michigan. So we're headquartered in Detroit. Our second site is nearly 3 hours away on the west side of the state. And again, two very different cultures. So we have board members that represent both of those regions. And so when I came on board, I thought, why aren't we, are we having a time where all board members are meeting in person? And of course, this was 2022. We were still, operating within the COVID-19 restrictions, but ensuring that I wanted to ensure that the board felt aligned behind the direction I wanted to take the organization. So what in um, partnership with my board chair, we decided that we should be doing an annual board retreat where the agenda is very different from the typical, that of our board meeting, where we were able to spend the day together to talk through key strategic initiatives, the current state of the organization, and what we want the organization to look like in the next 3 years. And so that is what we've done now annually, where the board is committed to that one day where it's facilitated, so the conversations are ongoing. So it's very different from the tactics and things that we're doing from an organization perspective. The board is, we have to be thoughtful of their time, but the boards is more making sure they're aligned from a strategic perspective. So um, we have that day long retreat that we're spending together, where management is also a part of it. And we really get to focus on the strategy. And the feedback that I've received from the board is that they get fulfilled at that meeting, because your meetings are very structured. You have your committee report outs, the budget, things like that. So this is a time where we really get to think through the organization and its strategic objectives and initiatives. So I would recommend it, whether it's a half day or a full day, but at least that there's that time where the board is able to sit together to focus on the organization at hand.
Are there any other questions for Megan? Well, Megan, thank you so much for joining us today. We truly appreciate all the valuable experience and ideas that you have shared with us, and I hope everyone will take them and implement them in their own nonprofits.
Well, thank you so much. And I'm reachable and findable on LinkedIn or whatever the case. Happy to have any side conversations with anyone in case you have questions or specific examples you might want to bring up. Please do find me on LinkedIn. I'd be happy to have those conversations. And thank you again for inviting me, and I'd be happy to come back again another time.
Thank you so much. Have a great day, guys.
Thank you.